Okay, so lesson 7, we're into our third big idea in geometry, and we're going to be moving into lines. I think like the title is analyzing quadrilaterals. And in order to be, because we just came out of triangles and angle measurements, and now we're moving into analyzing quadrilaterals. And the first thing about quadrilaterals, or four-sided shapes, is you have lines. And there's two really important vocabulary words that you need to understand for this next big idea. First one is parallel. The lines or line segments in these pairs, and we're talking about these pairs, are all parallel. Parallel lines run without, they're always the same distance apart, and they never cross each other. Like these segments over here, lines or line segments over here, cross each other. If you have a set of parallel lines, they're never going to cross, ever. So I want you to write down, press pause right here. What do you think it means for two lines to be parallel? And we're going to use that as a discussion starter tomorrow, but I need to see that this has been filled in. So press pause and answer that question right now. So down here, I want you to draw a set of parallel lines with me. And on the, you use the dots as your guide. I don't have a straight edge, but if you have a straight edge, it would be a really good idea to use it. I'm just kind of freehanding it here. And then we're going to go like this. And remember, lines have arrows on them because they go on forever, and you need 2 points on them because it says label. So right now we're doing the draw part. Now we're going to label it A, B, C, D. So down here you're going to write line AB is parallel to line CD. Now over here we're going to draw a figure. Draw a figure with one pair of parallel line segments. So we're going to do, connect 3 dots. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are our line segments that are going to be parallel. But see, if we want a figure, we have to close this figure. Now, there's only one pair of line segments, which will go E, H, F, G, because EG and HF are not parallel. So if we were to label this and write it out, we would say E line segment EH is parallel to line segment FG. So the big idea here is that parallel lines will run next to each other, but will never, ever, 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 ever cross. Now the next big idea that we need to have when it comes to quadrilaterals is perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines look like lines and line segments look like this section right here. The lines or line segments in this section right here are not perpendicular. So I want you to think about, just from your observations and what you already know about perpendicular lines, and I want you to kind of give me a little definition here. What do you think it means for two lines to be perpendicular? So I need you to press pause, take a minute, and answer this question, because there will be no Google form tonight. Answering these questions in the places that I'm telling you will show me that you watched the video, and we will have a good, solid discussion tomorrow in math workshop. So go ahead and press pause and answer that question. So hopefully in your thoughts, you had something about they do meet, because all of these kind of meet in an area. And something that I'm noticing here is that all of these angles happen to be right angles. So when I'm drawing my perpendicular line and labeling a pair of perpendicular lines down here, remember I'm doing lines, use the lines in your graph paper to help you out. Those lines are perpendicular, but have I labeled it? Not yet. So I want to say that this is point M, this is point N, this is point O, and this is point P. So if I were saying line MN is perpendicular to line OP. Now over here, the difference says draw a figure with one pair of perpendicular line segments, and one in particular comes to mind for me. And if I were to label this, I would say line segment XY is perpendicular with line segment YW. So what I want to know here on these little figures, and this is just bare bonesing it today, parallel and perpendicular. Which pair of lines is parallel? Which pair of lines is perpendicular? Or neither? Looking at number 7, I noticed that these are all right angles. So I'm going to say that this is perpendicular. I'm looking at these lines, and I know on number 8, I know that lines tend to run on forever. And those look like eventually they would cross. So I'm going to say that this is neither perpendicular nor parallel. It's neither one. Now these two lines right here seem like they're going to run on and never touch each other, which tells me they must be parallel. And this might look like it's perpendicular, but the key thing to perpendicular is that you have right angles. So this is neither. We will do 11 and 12 during math workshop tomorrow when I can help you with straight edges and we can use rulers. So go ahead and turn the page, and we're going to look at lines on a map on page 322. On Wednesday, Dell leaves his house and walks west along Lincoln Street. Gigi leaves her house and walks east along Jefferson Street. What kinds of lines are Lincoln and Jefferson? Well, we know that, right? They're parallel. Parallel lines. Will Dell and Gigi ever meet? I hear you saying, no way, Mrs. Crane. They won't meet because parallel lines never cross, never meet. Okay, I'm writing in cursive because I'm trying to push you and challenging you to read it. Now on Friday, Dell leaves his house and walks south along 5th Street. Gigi leaves her house and walks east along Jefferson Street. What kind of lines are 5th and Jefferson? What kinds of lines are 5th and Jefferson? They are perpendicular because they cross at a right angle. Will Dell and Gigi ever meet? Yes. At the corner of 5th and Jefferson. Now, the big idea of tonight's lesson is to understand the difference between parallel lines and perpendicular lines. It's no more difficult than that. Parallel lines run close to each other, but will never ever cross. They will never touch. Perpendicular lines cross at a 90-degree right angle, and this starts off our journey for quadrilaterals, and we will do 11 and 12 in class tomorrow, where we're going to create some of these lines with some rulers. All right? Hopefully you have a great evening study for that science test. Good night.